Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tavern. We are back with more Tavern Tales. Today, we're looking at the Zodiac sign of Capricorn for all you late December, early January babies. The Capricorn is a very unusual sign for a lot of reasons, but what makes it very interesting is that it is the last of the Earth signs. The Earth signs tend to be a lot more grounded as opposed to the other signs. You have the Taurus, who is patient, stubborn, and focused, sometimes prone to anger, and sometimes prone to naps. Then you have the Virgo, who is very focused, driven, detail-oriented, a bit of a nitpicky type person who needs to go over every little detail, and can sometimes make enemies of people through the power of being a little too demanding. And then we have the Capricorn. This one is an unusual member of this trio because while they do have that grounded, focused nature, they display it in a very unusual way. The personality of the Capricorn has some interesting strengths. They tend to stay the course, they're very perseverant, they have longevity and calmness that allows them to get work done. They're down to earth, good judges of character, and they will seek advice from those they trust. But more importantly, they are very loyal, but only if they receive loyalty back. For the Capricorn, loyalty, trust, things like that are a two-way street, and you gotta have it for both parties in the conversation. On the negative side, there are some problems to the focused nature of the Capricorn. They can be very single-minded, they might ignore the needs of others, have unnecessarily high expectations, quite judgmental, tend to be so self-reliant they kind of push people away, hide their emotions. They tend to be inflexible, oftentimes miserly, overly ambitious, and those kind of focuses on work and the expectation of others can drive people away. Like the other ground types, where we see the sign really represent the sturdiness and strength and focus with an insensitivity and overthinking nature that can push many people away. And while all three signs show the sturdiness of the rock in very different ways, you can see a lot of similarities, especially in their difficulty with forming relationships with other people who are a little too sensitive. But that's enough of the astrology. I know why you're here. You're here for the mythology. And this time we have a weird one because we're going to talk about sea goats. An interesting side note before I get into the deeper mythology, that this symbol actually has ties back to ancient Babylon and the god of Ea, who is the god of water, knowledge, and creation, which makes this, again, one of those signs that's been along for a very long time and has had its story and its symbol changed a bit as cultures progressed historically. Now, there are a lot of stories about goats when it comes to Greek mythology. Just roll with it. But the sea goats, in and of themselves, are very unique creatures. The first of the sea goats, Pricus, was a child of Cronus, who Kronos is essentially the creator of many things. He is a titan, he has power over time, and as I mentioned in the Chiron video, his children are very different and unique, and he deserves a video all his own. One of his children is the aforementioned Pricus, who is a sea goat. It's a goat with a fluke tail and everything. Pricus gained some very important gifts from his father. Wisdom, the ability to speak, and of course, minor control of time itself, making him an incredibly powerful creature. Pricus had many children, and those children are obviously also sea goats. And the one thing that sea goats are driven to do is to go to the land and sunbathe. They love the sun. The big problem is, as they dry out in the sun, their body will change from a sea goat to a land goat. And once they become a land goat, they can no longer return to the sea. More than that, they lose their intelligence, their wisdom, and their ability to speak. So Pricus was very worried about his children constantly going and sunbathing, and would try to talk them into returning to the sea before it was too late, or dragging them back into the sea himself. However, eventually all his children made it to land and became normal land goats. In his sadness, Pricus used his ability to control time to reverse time before any of the goats had transformed into land goats, so he could have his whole family back. However, no matter what he did, no matter what he said, no matter how hard he tried, the various sea goats would eventually make their way to land, dry out, become a regular goat, lose their intelligence, and just go off and do goat stuff. So when this happened a second time, he reversed time again, and continued to do so, trying different tactics, different means, different reasoning to explain to his children to not go to land no matter how good it felt. But no matter how hard he tried, Pricus could not get his children to obey, and eventually, in his despair, he gave up. It wasn't worth reverting time again and again to try to save his children if they wouldn't listen to him, and all the gifts they were given, being the grandchildren of a divine entity, were just thrown away because they really liked the feeling of the sun on their back. Cronus saw his child and offered him a position in the heavens as the sign of Capricorn to eternally watch over his children no matter where they go or what happens to them. And so up in the sky, Pricus is there looking down on goats, watching over them, making sure his descendants and his descendants' descendants and so on and so on and so on will remain happy and safe. Honestly, I think feeling sad that all your children went off and just lost everything that made them special, and then just watching them would be incredibly depressing. But that's how the story ends, and I guess Pricus is happy watching over his kids. Overall, not a particularly important story. If anything, it's kind of the origin of goats, which is weird. But I guess if they're a common animal in the place you would grow up in, you'd need some sort of mythology as to why do we have plentiful goats? And here's why. They used to be magic, now they're not. So yeah, this isn't the most exciting story. It's not a big battle or a hunt, but strangely enough, it is kind of an important part of the creation myth of Greece, because it explains the origin of all those goats. As has been noted in many videos, some of the signs can be really cool, interesting stories, and some can just be something that kind of has vague importance. And Capricorn is one of those. But don't worry, we're almost done with the Zodiac, and after that I can start focusing on some of the more interesting stories of the Greek pantheon. And trust me, there's some crazy ones I've been holding back on. Until next time, thank you for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you're a Capricorn and these traits apply to you. Like and subscribe if you have the chance. And of course, until next time, I'll see you at the tavern.